On the morning of January 25th, 2019, a silence hung over the Amato residence in Chuluota, Florida. It was a silence that shouldn't have been there. Cody Amato, a dedicated nurse anesthetist who hadn't missed a shift in years, hadn't shown up for work. When Seminole County deputies breached the door, they didn't find a robbery gone wrong. They didn't find a random act of violence. They found a family, a mother, a father, and a son, executed in their own home. But one person was missing, Grant Amato, the other son, the one who had been home, the one who had recently signed a contract with his father, a contract that put a price tag on his family's survival. Welcome to Criminal Psychology. Today, we are dissecting the case of Grant Amato, a terrifying look at how digital addiction, narcissistic delusion, and a failure to launch can converge into a perfect storm of family annihilation. To understand the end of the Amato family, we have to look at its structure. On the surface, they were the American dream. Chad was a respected pharmacist. Margaret was an operations manager. They had raised two sons who seemed to be following in their successful footsteps. Cody and Grant were close. They lifted weights together, went to nursing school together. But eventually their paths diverged. Cody soared, becoming a certified registered nurse anesthetist, a high-status, high-income career. Grant, however, stumbled. In June 2018, he was fired from Advent Health Orlando. The reason? He was caught administering propofol, a powerful anesthetic, to patients who hadn't been prescribed it. When caught, Grant displayed a classic narcissistic trait. He argued he knew better than the doctors. He claimed the patients weren't relaxed enough. He lost his license. He lost his income. And crucially, he lost his status. While Cody was saving lives and making money, Grant was unemployed, living in his childhood bedroom, and looking for an escape from his reality. Grant told his parents he wanted to become a professional Twitch streamer. Supportive as ever, they bought him the equipment. But Grant wasn't streaming, he was watching. He found his way to a site called MyFreeCams, where he met a Bulgarian model known as Silvie. In the world of camming, intimacy is a transaction. You pay tokens, you get attention. For a lonely, unemployed man with a bruised ego, Silvie offered something powerful. She treated him like a king. But being a king is expensive. Grant Amato became a whale, a high-rolling VIP. He wasn't just chatting, he was sending her lingerie, sex toys, and massive sums of cash. But the money wasn't his. He stole $60,000 from his brother Cody. He took out a $150,000 loan against his parents' house without their knowledge. He even stole from his aunt. In total, Grant Amato incinerated over $200,000 of his family's wealth in just 3 months, all for a woman he had never met, whose affection was contingent on the next credit card swipe. When the theft was discovered, the family was devastated. But they didn't call the police. They tried to save him. They sent him to a $15,000 rehab for sex addiction. Grant checked out early. When he returned home in January 2019, his father, Chad, issued an ultimatum. It was codified in a handwritten contract found by investigators. The terms were strict but fair. Get a job, pay back the money, stop watching porn, and most importantly, zero contact with Silvie. The margin notes reveal the family's heartbreak. One note read, "We don't expect an apology due to lack of real feelings." They knew something was wrong with Grant's empathy, but they underestimated the danger. Grant signed the contract, but he never intended to keep it. On January 24th, Chad discovered that Grant had been using his mother's iPad to message Silvie on Twitter. That evening, an argument erupted. Chad told Grant to get out. For Grant, leaving meant poverty. It meant reality. And most terrifyingly for him, it meant the end of his digital fantasy with Silvie. He decided that if he couldn't live in their reality, they wouldn't live at all. The sequence of the murders was tactical, cold. First, his mother, Margaret, found slumped over her desk in the home office. She was likely checking emails, completely unaware, shot in the back of the head. Grant then waited. He waited for his father to come home from work. When Chad walked into the kitchen, Grant met him. He shot his father twice, execution style. But the most chilling act was reserved for his brother. Cody was at the hospital safe. Grant used his dead father's phone to text Cody, luring him home. When Cody walked through the door, Grant executed him. And then, the cover-up. Grant attempted to stage a murder-suicide. He placed the gun, a Jericho 941, near Cody's body. He wanted the world to believe that Cody, the successful brother, had snapped. But Grant made a critical error. He didn't understand biomechanics. Cody was right-handed. The way the gun was placed and the angle of the wound would have required Cody to twist his arm in a physically impossible way to pull the trigger. The forensics screamed murder, not suicide. Grant didn't flee immediately. Digital forensics revealed that after killing his family while their bodies lay in the house, Grant went to his computer. At 11:30 p.m., he didn't call 911. He plugged in a USB drive and transferred his modeling photos of Silvie. Surrounded by death, his priority was backing up his porn. He then tried to wipe Cody's phone to hide the lure texts. In the interrogation room, Grant put on a performance.
You gotta open up to me, man. I'm here to take that information from you, to get you over this hump, to a little peace in your mind. You'll never have peace without saying, here, let me tell you.
This is exactly what happened.
And I already know. I'll be honest with you, I already know. This isn't my first rodeo. We've been doing this, what, between the two of us, 50 years? Over 50 years.
Married.
Over 50 years. I've seen it.
So what is it you need to tell us that we're missing?
Step over.
I mean, the only thing that I know is just that, I left the house later than what I had said.
He cried when shown photos of the bodies, but the detectives noted it felt like a switch being flipped.
Silly.
Did you leave the house with your brother Cody looking like that? Or did you leave the house with your father looking like that? Or your mother? Is that how you left your family?
No. Nobody else went into that house.
Who left your family like this? If you were the one that's been depressed, you were the one that owes money, you were the one that got into a confrontation with your father, who did this to your family?
One moment sobbing, the next moment calmly explaining technical details about his car. He claimed he was searching for top news stories on his phone. He even admitted to seeing police cruisers and news vans rushing to his street later that night. But he didn't go home. He didn't call his brother. He didn't call his parents. He told detectives he stayed away because he was afraid he would be blamed for whatever was happening.
Fact I know. She never held a gun. She didn't have a gun that night. Fact, he never fired a gun. Fact, he never fired a gun. Never did. This is the person right here, Mom, who always stuck up for you. Something happened so bad that caused her death, your dad's death, and Cody. And I'll tell you just about how it happened. 1, 2, 3, based on evidence. Listen to me. Hey, I know. Video surveillance tells me everything that happened this night. I'm telling you. Of people that you'd be surprised who in your neighborhood has video. And I know that there's only 4 people at this house during this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me.
It was a nonsensical story. Why would an innocent man, seeing emergency lights at his family home, refused to check on them unless he already knew there was nothing left to save. Towards the end of the interview, when the detectives pushed him on why he didn't seem to care, Grant dropped the mask of the grieving son and revealed the narcissist beneath. He told them, "My family has been blaming me for months for ruining their lives, so I might as well be blamed for this too." Even in a room where he was the prime suspect for executing his family, Grant Amato positioned himself as the victim. He wasn't confessing to the crime. He was complaining about the inconvenience of being held responsible for it.
I mean, there's just nothing else that I can say.
There's nothing else that happened in that home while you were there that would lead up to this?
No.
Your father didn't point a gun at you?
There was nothing else more than what I had said.
Then who do you think did this?
I don't know. No, there's nothing else that I can say.
But then this is not going to end up the way you want to, with what you're telling me right now.
In July 2019, the jury saw through the performance. Despite the mounting forensic evidence, Grant Amato did not break. He didn't confess. He didn't ask for a plea deal to save his own life. Instead, he doubled down on his delusion. He entered a plea of not guilty. This wasn't just a legal strategy, it was a continuation of his narcissism. To plead guilty would be to admit failure. The prosecution sought the death penalty. They argued that the murders were cold, calculated, and premeditated. For a moment, it seemed Grant Amato was destined for death row. However, Grant's fate hung on a technicality. In Florida at that time, a jury's recommendation for death had to be unanimous. Every single juror had to agree. When the jury returned, they were not unanimous. The deadlock meant that the state could not execute him. By the slim margin of a few indecisive jurors, Grant Amato escaped the needle. The judge had no choice. He sentenced Grant to 3 consecutive life sentences, without the possibility of parole.
All right. Based upon this case, 2019 CF 337 CFA, the state of Florida versus Grant Amato, you've been found guilty of 3 counts for killing both your mother, your father, and your brother, Margaret Amato, Chad Amato, and Cody Amato. At this point, you've been found guilty by a jury of your peers who have now indicated that you are not to be sentenced to the death penalty. Based upon those circumstances, the court is limited to 1 finding and 1 sentence for you. As to each count, the court would adjudicate you guilty. I would sentence you to life imprisonment without any possibility of parole as to each count. I further would indicate that you are to be released to the Department of Corrections as soon as feasibly possible. And otherwise, sir, just God have mercy on your soul.
Grant Amato represents a terrifying modern pathology, the self-righteous family annihilator. He didn't kill in a moment of passion. He killed because his reality, a reality of rules, jobs, and family expectations, became an intolerable interference to his digital fantasy. He traded 3 human lives for a parasocial relationship with a woman who knew him only as a username. And in the end, he became exactly what he fantasized about: a man alone in a cell with nothing but time to live in his own head. What do you think? Was this pure narcissism or the extreme end of digital addiction? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like and subscribe to Criminal Psychology for more deep dives into the criminal mind. Stay safe and always verify the truth.